If you've got a pending asylum case, there's something urgent that you need to understand. Donald Trump's diplomatic overtures to authoritarian regimes could crush your chances of winning asylum. His shifting foreign policy, from cozying up to Putin and Modi to praising Kim Jong-un to seeking deals with Venezuela's Maduro, suggests that Trump's willing to normalize relations with countries that persecute their citizens. And if that happens, the US government could start minimizing human rights abuses in these countries overnight. For anyone waiting for their asylum interview, this change could hurt their case. But there is something you can do to minimize the risk of this ruining your asylum case. I'm going to tell you all about it in this video, and we're starting right now. I'm Brian Manning, and I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now, as an asylum lawyer, well, my law firm helps immigrants all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. Let me know in the comments if you've got an asylum case pending, or maybe you're considering applying. And listen, I'd especially like to hear from you if you've been waiting for an asylum interview for multiple years. Let me know how long you've been waiting. All right, recent events suggest Donald Trump's shifting diplomatic relationships could severely harm your chances of winning asylum. You see, for years, the United States has officially recognized human rights abuses in many countries, calling them out, shining a light on the misdeeds that have caused so many people to flee and seek asylum in America and elsewhere. But that could change overnight. Trump's recent moves suggest that he's willing to normalize relations with authoritarian regimes that have historically persecuted their citizens, and the implications for asylum seekers could be devastating. Look at what's happening already. Trump's reaching out to leaders in Venezuela, negotiating prisoner swaps and easing sanctions. He's having conversations with Russia's President Putin about potential diplomatic breakthroughs. Trump is making overtures to India's leadership despite serious concerns about religious and political persecution there. The pattern is clear. Trump prioritizes what he sees as diplomatic wins over human rights concerns. During his first term, we saw this play out dramatically with North Korea, for example. He alternated between threatening fire and fury and declaring his admiration for Kim Jong-un. He famously declared at a rally that he and Kim fell in love over their beautiful letters praising Kim as very smart, a great negotiator, and a tough guy. With India, we saw a similar pattern. Despite documented concerns about religious and political persecution, Trump embraced Prime Minister Modi, holding massive rallies together and downplaying human rights issues. Now, Trump is already signaling a desire to strengthen ties with India again, regardless of ongoing persecution concerns. By the way, if you want to maximize your chances for asylum success, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so that you don't miss the insights that I share on this channel. Okay, here's why this matters so much for your asylum case. You see, asylum officers heavily rely on the State Department's human rights report when evaluating asylum claims, and this report is subject to politics. I know this firsthand. Before becoming an asylum lawyer, I spent 11 years working for the government's two main agencies for asylum and refugee matters, including time as a US diplomat, and I saw how our government's official stance on human rights in foreign countries could shift based on political priorities. You see, if the US wants to improve relations with a country, we might soften our position on their human rights abuses. If we want to pressure a government, well, we highlight every possible violation. Now listen, this isn't speculation. I witnessed these shifts in real time when I was a diplomat. So now take Russia, for example. If Trump sees strategic advantage in closer ties with Putin, well, the State Department might start minimizing political persecution there. The same could happen with Venezuela, where Trump's team is already exploring ways to normalize relations. And in India, if Trump prioritizes trade deals and strategic partnership, well, State Department reports might downplay the severity of persecution there. And these diplomatic shifts have real consequences for asylum seekers in America. This is because the State Department's human rights reports aren't just bureaucratic documents, they're actually crucial evidence in asylum cases. You see, when I was an asylum officer, these reports significantly influenced our decisions. If a report suggested conditions were improving in a country, well, it became much harder to grant asylum to applicants from that country. I can almost guarantee you that the officer in your case will look to and cite in their written decision this crucial report. And if it paints a less than dire picture, or even shows modest improvements in the human rights sphere in your country, well, that can damage your case. The officer can use it to help justify a denial, and these changes can happen fast. One year's human rights report might detail widespread persecution, while the next year's report influenced by new political priorities, might paint a much rosier picture. As an asylum officer, I saw how these shifts could dramatically impact asylum case outcomes. But look, even if Trump weren't shifting diplomatic stances, waiting for your asylum interview is a terrible idea. Let me explain why. First, time weakens asylum cases. Officers are trained to evaluate whether your fear of persecution is ongoing. And if you've been in the United States for years, many officers start thinking, well, yeah, I get it. I understand some bad things happen, but that was a long time ago. I mean, why would anyone want to harm you now after all this time? Look, I saw this mindset repeatedly when I was an asylum officer. Even though it's not how asylum law is supposed to work, officers often assume that the passage of time means the danger has faded. It's not fair, but it's reality. Second, new policies and the anti-immigrant atmosphere that Trump is bringing will make winning asylum harder. His first term was defined by crackdowns on immigrants. Now that he's back in office, well, we can expect more denials, tougher interviews, and new rules making it harder to qualify for asylum. And the longer you wait, the more likely you are to face these obstacles, as I believe it will become harder to win with every passing month that Trump is back in power. If you've been waiting years for your asylum interview, there is a way to minimize your risk of these political games harming your case. There's a way to fight back, filing a mandamus lawsuit to force USCIS to schedule your interview pretty much right away. This federal court action asks a judge to order USCIS to do its job and process your case, and it works. We file the lawsuit, and usually within a few months, USCIS schedules the interview. You see, the government doesn't want to fight these cases in court all the way to the end because they know they'll probably lose. So instead of arguing about it, they simply schedule the interview after some negotiations with my team. So not only do you get your interview, but actually we keep pressure on USCIS to ensure that you also receive your decision quickly. Now, while other asylum seekers may wait months or even years after their interview for a decision, our clients typically receive their decision within about 2 weeks after the interview in cases where we've secured this interview through a mandamus lawsuit. And listen, I know what you're probably wondering. Well, won't suing the government hurt my asylum case? Absolutely not. As a former asylum officer, I can tell you that I truly believe that officers will not hold this against you. Look, they might not even know that you sued to get your interview. And even if they do know, well, they can't use that as a reason to deny your case. It's simply not among the negative factors that they can cite to justify a negative decision. Look, in my law firm, we filed many of these lawsuits recently, and I can tell you that never, not once, have we seen any indication that officers are using the fact that our client sued to get their interview against them. The time to act is now. Trump's diplomatic shifts could happen at any moment. And if that happens and the US starts claiming conditions are improving in your country, well, your asylum case could become much harder to win. Every day that you wait increases the risk that changing political winds will damage your chances for asylum success. A mandamus lawsuit puts you ahead of the curve. It gets your interview now before the system turns against you. It's not just about speeding up the process, it's about protecting your future in America. If you're ready to take the next step and get help with your asylum case, then please call my office today. That number is 713-909-0401. Remember, we help people all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. Call us right now to schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can help you to secure your future in America through asylum. Again, I'm Brian Manning, and it's an honor to serve you in your asylum journey.